Reconnaissance and force. You know, it's one of my favorite hobbies. Hi there, my name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 176. And for you guys who caught that, our sponsor today is Recon, because I think there's a fire or something going on in California or something, because the air quality is just ridiculous, and I've been hacking up lung cookies all morning. So, but the show must go on, and this is a show. Thank you guys all for watching. Okay, so like the topic and everything, Recon, reconveyance, reconnaissance, 3 different things. I'm only going to be talking about one of them. All right, so let's just get going on this, right? So first things first, okay? When some people like myself think recon, okay, we're thinking about stuff like this. This is Marine Force recon out in the jungle looking for somebody to kill and some stuff to break. All right, this is not the kind of recon that we're talking about today, which is a real damn disappointment because, you know, I could have used some of these bad hard chargers this week. All right, I'm talking about this kind of recon. This is a document called a deed of reconveyance. All right, you generally don't. This is one of those deeds that nobody knows about until you need to know about it. All right, this is actually I would say the second most important deed, all right, in all of real estate. The first one, of course, is being your warranty deed that actually tells you own the house. This deed right here is the deed that says you paid off the bank. So, man, okay. So I can't talk with a cough drop in my mouth. So when you get a loan, to purchase a house, or you already own the house, you want to get a second on it, or you just want to borrow money against it, you want to encumber the property, as we like to say, there is a document that's going to be recorded, and it's going to be a deed of trust. Now, asterisk, right now, everything I'm talking about is in the state of Arizona, right? Other states do things different, right? But what we do here is we record a deed of trust. And what the deed of trust does, all right, I'm trying to remember back to school here, all right, the trustor, who's the borrower, gives the trustee, a neutral third party, the right to transfer title to the property from the trustor, the borrower, to somebody called the beneficiary. And the beneficiary is the person who gets the house at the end of the day. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Trust me, you'll never need to know this thing anymore unless you go into foreclosure and they're coming after you. And then this is going to get suddenly be real high interest to you. So that's what the bank uses to secure their interest in the property. They have you sign a deed of trust with them as a beneficiary, saying that they are going to get the house if you don't pay off the loan. The terms of the loan is in the note, which is recorded. Okay, so you're going to have the deed of trust recorded, and you're going to have the note recorded. All right. And at some point, if the bank is not getting the payments, they can go to the trustee, which is a neutral third party. 99 times out of 100, it's the title company. And the title company is going to sit there and contact the borrower, the trustor, and go, did we got you sign this, or you're not making your payments, and they're going to facilitate the transaction. This is how we do things here in Arizona. We are what's called a deed of trust state. This is a really good thing for Arizona. When the crash happened, we were able to recover faster than other states. And this is going to sound really bad and weird at the same time, but because we can rip the Band-Aid off fast. All right. Other states where they had to go through a foreclosure process because there was not a deed of trust recorded, there was a mortgage recorded. All right, that had to go to court, and it could take up to 6 months in court before the bank could foreclose on the house. Now, why is foreclosing on a house a bad thing, or a good thing in this case? All right, for Arizona, it allowed people, it basically allowed the deck to get reshuffled quicker. All right. So houses hit the market faster, which meant whenever, I haven't shown that chart in like a year now, but when you see that wapow, you know, in house prices and everything, the reason why we had a wapow and then we started going back up, all right, other states went tumble, 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 tumble. The humanity. All right, so this works for me because I'm a Band-Aid off quick kind of guy. All right, why suffer tomorrow when you can suffer today? All right, not a masochist. All right, but if the pain is inevitable, let's get it out of the way and get on with the mission. So these deed of trust, they get recorded and everything out there. They get recorded on the property. So title, you might remember those guys, all right? Title officers are strange little critters, you know, who, you know, they're the ones who just love looking at stuff. Okay, they're the rules lawyers. Okay, they're the guy at the gaming table who's going to go, well, actually, according to Rule 27.3, Paragraph 5, your plasmas can only be, you know, allocated energy from the warp engines to energize. So you don't have the energy to do that. I'm like, okay, those guys, right? Do not ask me how I know how to say and act like a rules lawyer. But that deed of trust gets recorded. All right, and then at some point, you pay off the loan. Now, this is what screwed my week up. It didn't really screw it up. It just made for a really tense Wednesday, or really, really tense Tuesday. Okay, we're talking like 24 hours on complete Schrodinger's house here. We do not know if the deal is dead or not. I didn't think the deal was going to be dead. All right, but we did not know what's in the box. We were like Brad Pitt going, "What's in the box, man? What's in the box?" I mean, it was bad, okay? I'm freaking out. Well, I'm not freaking out, okay? I'm really surprised at how stoic I was through this whole thing. And it's like I was just working my circles mentally. I was in my fortress of solitude. I knew that if something bad happened, it was going to be the lender who was going to die, and I know where he lives. All right. But it came out that the underwriter, those trolls, we know who those trolls are, all right, came out from underneath his frickin' rock and said, well, your borrower has 6 different properties, and I'm finding what could be potentially a lien on one of them. And we need to make sure that this big lien has been satisfied. Frickin' underwriters, okay? So underwriter troll pops up out of his rock, you know, and goes, I want to see this lien be satisfied. And I'm like, okay, we can work this. What's the lien? Where's it at? All right. And what do we see? We have a house that was purchased. I'm going to show you the original deed of trust in question. All right. Now, if you guys who are sitting there watching this on your phone, you're not going to see what this says. You guys who might looking on your screen might be able to see what most of this says. All right. And if you're looking on that big screen TV that I know my real fans do, I have no idea what my face looks like at 4 feet high on some of your guys' television, but every time I think about that, I suddenly realize maybe I should be wearing makeup. But if you're looking at this document, this is a deed of trust, okay, for a house that my buyer bought. He's also the borrower for the lender back in 1979. Okay, let's go back to 1979, all right? We're not even in the greatest decade of all time yet, all right? We're in the 79s. I mean, yeah, serious. Carter. We're in the Carter administration. All right. We got hostages in Iran. The Iranians are bitch slapping us all over the Persian Gulf, rubbing our face in the mud, taking our lunch money and stuff like that. And we have an ineffective, president who's not doing anything about it. Yeah, okay, so just like old days, So we were suddenly back, and we're in 1979, and there was a deed of trust that was recorded for a purchase of a property for a grand total of $29,000, and this underwriter suddenly is going, I want to make sure this deed of trust is paid off. All right, so if we apply Occam's razor to this and go, homeowner bought the house in 1979? Yep, he did. And the homeowner is still living in the house this many years later? Yes, he is. I mean, that's over 40 years ago, right? 1979. That's 45 years ago, all right? Did they have 45-year loans back in the day? No, they did not, all right? So let's assume there was a 30-year fix. So did the house get foreclosed on within that time period? Nope, because we know the homeowner is still in that house. So let's just assume the loan's paid off. But no, we need to find something called a deed of reconveyance. Now, what's a deed of reconveyance, okay? It's this document right here, all right? This document is the formal recordation of the fact that the loan has been paid off and the deed of trust no longer applies. Here's the problem. Nobody could find the reconveyance. All right. Did it get done? Did it get recorded? Who knows? All right. Because it could have been recorded, but then put into the system wrong. I used to work for a title company. I'm not going to tell you which title company. All right. In a particular state, I was a file manager in that particular state. All right. Which meant these escrow and title files, when they were done and escrow was completed, were handed over to me, and I needed to put them somewhere where I could find them in an emergency. Hold on. Heather King's calling, and I stop you guys to talk to her. Okay. So irony abounds. It apparently looks like I'm going back to my very first job ever in real estate, and I am running lending docs tomorrow. All right, from point A to point B, like literally my first job I ever did in real estate, just to make sure this thing happens tomorrow. So where were we? Okay, so this reconveyance gets recorded and says this loan is paid off. And everything's fine and dandy unless title can't find this recon. Now, normally, here's the normally bit. Normally, at some point, most people don't keep a loan for 30 years and pay it off. All right. Most times people refinance, they sell their house, they get out of it. All right. They definitely don't have the same house that they owned since 1979. All right. And there's a title company that's coming down the search. And so when underwriters are looking at the overall policy and, the whole system, they're like, okay, they don't care about houses that you own back in the day. They don't call about loans that you owed back in the day. They just want to know the now. So that means somebody needs to go find this full reconveyance that is somewhere recorded in the system. All right. Now, if you are a title company, you go to something called the TRW and you pull these things. And if you're Ray, I'm suddenly looking at, putting searches into the Maricopa County Recorder site, trying to find, this is literally a screenshot of one of the pages of the over 500 documents that popped up when I put in my buyer's name. All right. And what we're trying to do is, and when you do these things, you can actually hit recording date, organized by recording date. All right. Take the date of recording, it was recorded, add 30 years to it, start looking around that time period. Okay. We're suddenly looking about 2009. What recorded in 2009? And let's see if we can find this recon that the underwriter can't. Right? Title didn't call up this lien on the search. This is the underwriter for some reason. Right? And what throws you all off? What happens if Ray takes, or you take Ray's advice back in 1979 when I was 8 years old, and you made extra mortgage payments? Because that means you're getting paid off earlier. So now we know we have a top end of July 5th, 1979. Add 30 years to July 5th, 2009? Yeah, 2009. And then we have to start realizing, recons can get recorded late, so we have to add 3 months to that, all right? So now we're in and then we start looking all the way back for something in this column over here, release a deed of trust. So that's what title officers do. Right, when they're trying to find a payoff. That's what we want. And then if it had gotten really bad, then you got to start looking for typos. We got to start looking like maybe they recorded it in the wrong place. Right? The reason why you're going with the person is because generally the person doesn't get screwed up. It'd be stuff like, lot 205 of Sunnydale Farms, all right, and somebody goes and types 115 Sunnydale Farms, or, Sunnydale Farms Unit 1 or Unit 2 or whatever, or they didn't put a unit in. Anyways, long story short, we are running like crazy trying to figure out how to get this reconveyance done, or just find evidence of it. And last night, the underwriter went over and said, hey, for me to clear this off, because of the age and everything like that, all we need is just run a report and make sure there isn't anything, a flag on that. Report run, no flags, we're off to the races. All right, 24 hours of crazy there. And talking to the lender, he's like, man, I didn't want to kick this thing off just yet, because if I just waited for 24 hours, everybody wouldn't be freaked out. But in my mind, bandage off quick, and I also like to see when it's coming at me. All right, it's a lot easier to tell people we're not closing on Friday, all right, on Tuesday, than it is telling we're not closing on Friday on Friday. Now, here's the other thing going on in this, all right? The other thing that we had going on in this is my buyer's buying the house from the seller. The seller is buying a house next Tuesday from another person. And that person is buying a house a couple days later from a fourth person. And just to make it fun, my buyer's money is going to this guy. He's using that money to pay this guy, who's going to use that money to pay that guy. So it's not just my buyers and the sellers on the other side are going to have a bad time. All right. All of these people are going to have a bad time. And I don't even know this guy. They have no idea who we are. They're just going to be sitting out there. So that's what happens when we have these really weird little closing things where we're just, it's almost like wholesaling, except it's legit. Everybody's just, what I was using yesterday is like, we're just playing musical houses. And when the music stops, everybody sits down in a house. Hopefully everybody has a house to sit down except for the guy who's moving out of state. That's fine. They can go wherever. But that's what this week has been. And it's been actually sort of a lot of fun. What else has been going on? So just so you know, that's what a deed of reconveyance is. Couple things to note on this. When you pay your loan off, right, it's usually going to be the company that's been taking the payments from you. All right, the people who have been managing that portfolio, they're going to send a note over to the trustee going, hey, do release, release this. It's done. We got paid. Life is good. 2009. I think that's what killed us on this entire thing. Because in 2009, we were in the middle of the crash, and people were dealing with something called the MERS. MERS, right? It was this razzoo-dazzoo, computers are going to save us all concept of we're going to have, every time we assign a loan to somebody else, or somebody else assumes a loan, every time we do that, we have to go down to Maricopa County Recorders and pay $25 to state Bank A is buying this loan from Bank B. Bank B is going to sign that loan over to somebody else, all right? And just like everything else, it's just going to get passed back and forth, all right? And these little $25 crumbs are going to come off, plus the pain and hassle of drawing up docs and sending it over to Maricopa to be recorded, all right? Now, these smart people who thought themselves smart, decided they were going to go and say, you know what we'll do? We'll just track that all ourselves. We will put that into our big computer database, right? And we will personally take all these documents and store them in Florida. And then these documents, and so when it's time to pay these things off, we'll take care of that. And it's, it's going to be so much easier for us to buy and sell loans back and forth really, really quickly because we're not having to run out to Phoenix, frickin' Arizona, and some intern down there with a $25 check and a document that had to be notarized and record it. And this is where, for some of you old timers, that term produce the note argument came from. Right? Because there was a legal argument out there saying, you can't prove that you have a note on my house. Where's the note? And then they pop up with, here's the note right here we got off the county recorder site. And you look at it and go, that's not your name. That's not your name. Why do you think that you can go some random note out there and show up in court and say, hey, this is, this proves that, Ray owes me money? And they went, well, MERS and technology and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was the freaking judges who honestly, they're 2009, some of these judges still didn't have email. They're like, well, the banks wouldn't lie to us. They're the cornerstone of our democracy. And so they took this entire argument going, oh no, all you had to do is show up and say, here's an affidavit saying that I attest that this note actually belongs to me. Give me their house. And the judges went along with it. I'm reserving judgment on this. Personally, I think if the banks did something stupid and they wound up in the barrel over it, then you just give it to them good and hard, all right? They're the ones who got smart. So I'm thinking that in the middle of this whole, show, that something as silly as a reconveyance, all right, when this loan might have been sold and bundled 7, 6, 8, 9, 10, 15 times, they just forgot. All right, there's somebody who didn't get the reconveyance document, and unfortunately, my buyer, did not know at the time, hey, I got this note paid off. I'm going to go request my own deed of reconveyance to be recorded. All right? Because this stuff always all happens on the back end. You're not supposed to have to do it yourself. All right? So if you guys are out there and any of you guys have a loan on your house that you have paid off, and you think you have your house free and clear, and you live in the state of Arizona, and you want me to do a little tiptoe through the Maricopa County recorders, Maricopa County only, by the way, to see if I can find your copy of your deed of reconveyance, give me a call, leave me in, get a hold of me, drop into my DMs, however you want to do it, and I'll see if I can find that for you. All right, or at least let you know, it is recorded. Right, so 30 years from now, you're not having this kind of drama. So let's move on. Okay. I do have stuff to talk about numbers. We're already 22 minutes into this, so let's get going on this. All right. So these are the numbers for June 19th, 2024. All right. Actives this week are 17,914, up 185 from the previous week. Our new listings are at 1,944, down 191 from the previous week. Contracts are at 2,085 this week, down 230, and our closings were 1,677. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 584 new listings. And let's look at the crime report numbers because they're going to be relevant here in a few seconds. Supply's gone up a little bit to 74.5. Our demand has dropped a little bit more to 77.5. All right, that puts us at a Cromford report number, industry, statewide, at 104. Balanced market, boys and girls. Let's break it down. Why do we still get to call it a balanced market? Because we still have all of these cities still in a balanced market, even though everything seems to be dropping. Let's hit the winners first. Fountain Hills going up 5%. They're at 181.5. Tempe, being Tempe, at 151, up 6 from last month. Cave Creek is at 91.5. They're up 8%. They are into balanced market. I think they've been there for about a week or two now. And then Maricopa is up at 67.2. Still a buyer's market for Maricopa, but they're trying hard. All right, let's look at what our buyer's markets are. Okay, our buyer's markets right now are Surprise, Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye. You can almost say Cave Creek is at 91.5, but statistically that's still balanced. Buyer side of balanced. All right, who's leading the pack is still Chandler at 203. So figure 2 buyers for every 1 house out there, even though they have been dropping. All right, so here's the chart that broke my brain today. Sort of related. This is the listings under contract. All right. Remember over here on this chart, all right, when I go contracts, this is considered listings under contract. This is the total amount. Remember, houses do not close in 1 week. All right. Average is about 3 to 4 weeks. All right. So if our contracts per week are at 2,085, we should assume that this number should be, what about somewhere between 6 and 7. All right. And here we are. Oh, look. We're at just over 8,000. But what I want you to see on this is the comparables. This is how many we had listings under contracts, houses that have successfully received a contract and are headed towards closing. This is where we're at. We are almost, I'd say almost 1,000 off maybe 5,500. About, about 1,000 off where we were this time last year. All right. Notice this is your normal season. Bam. Everybody gets excited in the spring. We peak out right around April into May, and then we start our slow slide all the way down, which is why I keep telling people this is when you list the property, January and February. You don't want to be listing in June. You're on the long slide. All right. The thing that this pulled up, all right, is to let people know that 2007 was our worst year for listing under contracts. We are pre-crash, but we're definitely getting there. This is when inventory started really, really shooting up because people weren't buying houses, right? And we are lower than any other year up until, now at 2007. If I threw the other years on here, everything would be above 2023. 2023 was bad. 2024 is markedly slower than 2023, but we're still not as bad as 07. All right. So what does this mean to you? The dynamic things that were going on in 07 are not happening right now. All right. We definitely had too much inventory, all right, in 07, because remember, those builders were still building. All right. We had a whole bunch of people who had been buying multiple houses and leveraging them 17 ways from Sunday to do it. All right. So that's what our issue with this. Comfort coming up, and they're just basically saying, supply of homes is continuing. Printed off today. Supply of homes continues to rise, although the rate increase is very modest at the moment. Now, here's the fun one. Supply of homes to rent is on a steeper upward trajectory. Yesterday, we had 4,655 active rental listings, which is up 7% from a month ago, and is 20% higher than the low point reached on March the 3rd. It is also up 14% than on June 11th from last year. All right. So if we were to, what does it mean? It's a lot of apartments, all right? Apartments that have grown the most active since last year, they're 34% more numerous among the active listings. Single-family rental units have increased much less, only 9%, and townhomes are in between 15% more than a year ago. What would you rather live in, an apartment or a house? Townhouse or an apartment, all right? So, anybody who drives around knows all the apartment building that's going on, all right? So we're starting to hit sort of a parity on that, all right? This is going to lower renting rates, so it'll be cheaper and easier to rent. All right, you definitely have some bargaining room if you're sitting out there trying to be a renter right now. Like I said, we're actually at the point where it might be month to month cheaper to rent than it is to buy. See that, channel, the video I did a couple months ago about arguing against that rent, save your money, invest it all. All right, because it is eventually going to turn around. Right. We still have people moving to the valley. We're still growing in population, but it looks like all of this, apartment rentals, building is starting to pay off for renters. When you start seeing apartments go vacant, and when you start seeing building projects suddenly stop, that's going to be one of those little canaries we want to keep an eye on. Okay, so, and that's pretty much it. If I'd been thinking that I was certainly going to wrap this up, one of those little things you need to keep an eye on, just like your children and pets around the water, okay? And you're also going to be working your circles. You're not driving into anything flooded. Reach out and call your mother every once in a while. She misses you. Some of you with every bullet so far, but her aim's getting better, and I want you guys to have a really great weekend. Talk to you later.